Hey everybody, welcome back to Dixie Belle's YouTube channel. My name is Lauren and I am the furniture flipping teacher. And today we are going to be utilizing Dixie Belle's new paint line, the Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint, to flip this dresser. And I am going to be selling this dresser after I flip it. And I'm going to put the money that I earn with the silk paint straight toward my student loan debt. So not only is this my first time on Dixie Belle's YouTube channel, but this is also going to be my first time utilizing their new Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint. I'm excited, I've been reading about it, and this is going to be so simple for me to flip this dresser. I love quick flips and I love to get that profit quick. But first, we've got to clean with Dixie Belle's White Lightning. You always want to wear gloves when you're cleaning with the White Lightning because of the chemicals that it has in it in order to get the piece clean. No matter what type of furniture you're painting with any sort of paint, you need to clean your piece in order to get the best adhesion from the paint. And you just dump some in. It says a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons per gallon. I have about a half gallon there, so I just estimate about a tablespoon in there. And then I mix it up with my cloth and I will get to cleaning. Alright, and now that I have cleaned with the White Lightning, I need to go and grab some fresh clean water and go over the whole thing again to get those chemicals off, and then I'll dry it. Alright, and now that it is all dry, right before I use the silk mineral paint, I am going to actually do a quick scuff sand. Now this isn't completely necessary on these furniture pieces, but because the previous owner had gotten some paint on it and there are a few minor imperfections, especially on the tops, I just want to even that out. Right now I'm just taking an 80 grit sandpaper and doing a scuff sand. I will say this piece of furniture is not wood. It is a very solid piece of furniture, but it is not made of wood. It is particle board MDF, so that's why it's kind of looking like this. I found a bit of water damage underneath when I did the sanding, but again, that's why I'm kind of doing this sanding, so I can smooth out those imperfections before I start to paint. Alright, and that is all for the scuff sanding. Now you might notice I didn't sand down the 3 top drawers because my plan is to actually keep those as is because they're in really nice shape. And so now I'm just going to take a microfiber cloth and get all this dust off before I use the silk paint. Okay, I lied. I always seem to forget this step. I have to remove the hardware before I get to painting. With my hardware, I always keep it in a container so that I know where it is at all times, and I can put it back on when I'm ready and when the paint is all dry. This is the Anchor, which is more of like a black color, and this is the Cape Current, which is blue. So on top of, again, this being my first time using the silk paint, I am actually going to take a risk and try to mix some of the colors. It's important to remember that if you're doing the silk paint, you have to mix it only with the silk paint. You can't take the chalk paint and mix it with the silk paint. It's a completely different product, so keep that in mind. Jeez, they don't want you to open this at first. As you can tell, this paint just needs to be stirred. The two pigments are separated. Alright, I have got these mixed up. All the colors seem to be spread out enough. But now I'm going to be mixing both of them to get a navy blue color. I want to make sure that I measure because last time I mixed paint, I barely had enough, so I need to measure just in case I need to make more later on. Navy is more of a bluer color. I don't want it to be too dark, so I'd rather add blue before I add black. This is a 2/3 cup, so I'm just gonna use that there. All right, so we've got the Cape Current in there, and then I'm gonna add some Anchor in there as well, but I'm just gonna do little by little because we really don't need a lot of black to turn this into navy. I'm probably gonna just do half of the 1/3 cup, so that'd be about 1/6 cup here. I'm gonna mix with my stir stick. I was going for a navy, but I honestly kind of like this. Kind of like a coastal color. I'm gonna add just a tad bit more black here, even less than I did before. I'm gonna mix that in. I think I'm content with this color right here. Let's get to painting. So usually at this point in time of flipping a dresser, this is where I would do a primer, but the Silk All-in-One paint is just that. It is all-in-one, so I can skip the step of priming, especially because this piece is not going to have any bleed through. It's not going to have any smells coming through, so I don't need to use the Dixie Belle Boss. I can just get straight to painting, which is why I think that I'm really gonna like this silk paint. And it's also perfect for beginners because you don't have to go out and buy all these materials, all these products, when you just have it all in one. So I'm using one of Dixie Belle's new brushes, the Scarlet brush that fits right in the palm of your hand. It's a synthetic brush, so it's perfect for this silk paint. Also with the silk paint, you want to make sure your brush is dry. A lot of the times with their chalk paint, people do some mist and spray it down with water, and that's all fine for the chalk paint, but for the silk paint, you really don't need to thin it out at all unless you're using a sprayer. So just remember that when you are doing the silk paint. So something else to remember with silk paint is that you don't want to work it too much, which means you don't want to keep going over. You just want to kind of do 1 or 2 strokes and then be done with that section and let it dry. That way it can even out. It dries fairly quickly, so that's one reason. You just don't want the brush strokes. So you just want to do long strokes of paint. And just like that, I am done with the first coat of silk paint in the color that I just created. And I am going to put a second coat on the top of this, but this needs to dry for a couple hours, and then I'll come back and put that second coat on. Alright, so it's been a few hours now, and I am back for coat number 2 on the silk paint that I created. I have a little bit left. I think I should have enough, since the second coat is just more for the coverage of the parts that maybe didn't quite get covered in the first coat. So I am going to hopefully stretch this, that way I don't have to make any more. Okay, and top coat or second coat of this silk paint is on the dresser. Now I'm just gonna let that dry. And one cool thing about the silk paint as well, after all of the things that I've mentioned, this is one of the last things that I've noticed. This paint dries super even. So even after the first coat, I noticed that there were brush strokes, but then as it dried, they even out and it flattens out. So even though I see some brush strokes on the piece right now, once it dries, it's even and it's flat and it's smooth, so that you can't see that it's been brushed on there. So another plus of the silk paint. And I came away with barely any left, but looks like I guesstimated the right amount of paint that I needed to make. So I'm really happy with that, because I didn't have to remix anymore. After this dries, my next step is to just stage it and take photos to post for sale. Usually I would have to wait till it dries and then put a top coat on it, but again, all in one silk paint. Simple, one step. I don't have to put a top coat on it. It is built into the paint, so another plus. We're gonna call this Simply Silk. All right, and actually while it is drying, I have this piece of the drawer that just got a little bit nicked up. This was before I got the piece. I was a little nervous in leaving these 3 brown because of this flaw, but then I remembered that in my house we had these markers that actually are for furniture, and they can just fill in little spots to make it blend in to be the correct color. And I happened to have the exact color that I needed to make this blend right in. It's like it's not even there. Magic. The drawers are already dry. That's how fast this paint dries. So I'm gonna go ahead and reattach the hardware. And I kept it all in one spot so I didn't lose it. Especially if projects take you multiple days, it's important to keep them all in one spot. I would definitely be the one to lose it. Alrighty, it is all done. It's just gotta finish drying and then I'll get ready for staging. This has had the chance to dry overnight. That way I know that there is no more wet spots, and I am gonna come back with my Dixie Belle finishing pad. That's just gonna smooth it out. It was a little bit rough when I ran my hand across it, so I'm just gonna use this and it's gonna make it nice and smooth. So this is not sandpaper, it's just a coarse padding, so I'm not taking any of the finish off. I'm simply just kind of rubbing away the roughness. Now that that's done, I'm gonna get my staging wall here ready, and we're gonna stage this to take some photos. I'm gonna take some photos now and I'm gonna post this for sale. Okay, so I've got pictures taken. I'm just gonna measure for posting over on Facebook Marketplace. People are gonna ask you how big it is anyway, so I've just put the dimensions on it before they even have the chance to ask. 38.5. 16.5. And now I'm gonna go list it. For pricing on this, when I list it on Facebook Marketplace, I am going to list it at $400. I decided on that price because I've gotten a similar sized dresser finished. It was white, kind of a farmhouse look, and I sold that one for $350. So I know that the buyer is out there, and since I sold it at $350 before, I'm gonna try and up it to see what kind of profit I can end up with. So let's go get it posted. Alright, so I posted this a week ago for that $400 like I had said. I didn't get any hits on it, but Facebook Marketplace was being a little bit weird and it wasn't posting my original post. It was posting photos of the side and the back and all of that stuff. So once I finally got that solidified, I lowered the price down to $350 a couple days ago, and I got a hit for someone wanting $300, and I didn't want to go quite that low, so I met in the middle at $325. So they will be coming to pick that up here in a few minutes. And that means that I got this dresser for $40 originally off of Facebook Marketplace. I had a few materials, about $10 worth of materials, and now I am selling it for $325. So that is $275 toward my student loan debts from using Dixie Belle Silk Paint. So that was super awesome that I got to use and try out their new paint line. Highly recommend it. I hope you guys were able to get some tips and tricks for the silk mineral paint, and I hope I eased your mind a little bit that it's really not very hard. It is simply silk. So get subscribed down below to Dixie Belle's channel, but also if you liked my process and you want to join along on the journey over on my channel, head over and subscribe to Furniture Flipping Teacher, and I'll see you on the flip side.